Thanks for that great introduction, Juliet. So today in this session, you guys are in for a real treat. We're definitely going to engage in some research-based activities. You're going to experience this in a synchronous presentation. You're going to walk away with a variety of protocols to use with students and your PLT. And we are going to definitely take a look at the North Carolina digital learning standards for students. A lot of you may not be aware, but North Carolina has adopted learning standards for students. And so here we are, we're going to take a look at those. And this slide is linked. And so you can go more in depth and take a deeper dive into the empowered learner, the creative communicator, and the knowledge constructor. Those are just some of the ones that we're touching on. And obviously you can also always touch into digital citizenship. So we want to make you aware of these. And I bet you anything you are providing opportunities for your students to become empowered learners and knowledge constructors. So we just wanted to touch upon that and give you that website for today.
All right, we are going to, as a group, participate in an inclusion activity. And inclusion activity really brings participants together. It assists in building relationships and helps kind of focus the mental energy of the room. So this particular activity is a Discovery Education Spotlight on Strategy, or SOS, instructional strategy called Half the Story. So as you look at half the story, what do you see? What do you think might be happening in that picture? What evidence do you have to support your idea? So what we would like you to do is drop in the chat what your thoughts are about the rest of this story. So I'll be quiet for a moment while you all think through that. What might be happening? What evidence do you have to support your idea? All right, and when you're ready, go ahead and begin typing and drop it in the chat and press send. All right, so we see someone thinks there might be a geyser. So what evidence do you see in the picture that might indicate you see a geyser in half of this story, and what could be in the rest of the story? Steam. Ooh, someone said, I don't think it's a fire because the smoke is white. Ah, that's a good one. Good evidence. Maybe it's sulfur. Oh, volcano. Okay. All right, awesome. Old Faithful, because I see steam. All right, so if you would want to, you may have to jump out of present mode.
I do.
Yeah, so we can slide it away, and we're going to show you the rest of that picture. So this photo is actually a Discovery Education photo. I downloaded it right from my Discovery Ed portal. And it's a photo that shows steam rising from a thermal pool, right, which is a hot spring. So a hot spring is created when water is heated by molten rock deep in the earth. And so I even got that bit of information in Discovery Ed. So it was right there underneath the picture. So this is a fun strategy you can use with students to get them really thinking about the topic and beginning to build some background knowledge and even see what they might already know. So Wanda, if you would go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is a second example of another Discovery Ed image that we used for half the story. So again, really quickly in the chat, what do you think is happening in this photo? Someone said a house fire in the forest. It does look very much like that. I see a house, and I can tell it's a house because it looks like sort of like a cube. It appears to have a window and a roof. Someone thinks there might even be in the rest of the story, maybe a fire truck over there, hopefully putting out the fire. All right, and so Wanda, if you would please jump out of present mode and move that black rectangle away for us and put it back in present. All right, and so there's the rest of the story. This is actually hot lava that is flowing down a mountainside, and it has caught a home on fire. And so, look, someone said my summer home, right? We need a summer home, don't we? And
Yeah.
so if you peek really close at the image, this is a good way to really get kids paying attention to details. You can see down the behind the home, there's some black, really dark black with some bright orange pieces peeking through, and that's actually the lava. So it brings about a really great way to have a conversation with your students and just really get them excited about what they're going to learn in class.
And you could also put your Google Slides activity in view only mode for the beginning of this and then switch it over as well, couldn't you? That way kids
Absolutely.
can't slide it on their own.
Yeah, they're cheating, right? They'll peek ahead because it's an exciting activity. They'll want to know what's behind the hidden panel.
Absolutely.
All right, so go ahead to the next slide, please. All right, so right here, well, first let me say thank you. Thank you for those of you who are participating in Half the Story. We really appreciate you being interactive with us and going ahead and engaging in your first SOS instructional strategy. So before we get moving further with other examples, we just wanted to show you there are a few ways to get to the SOS instructional strategies. And on the screen, you'll see up at the top left corner, when you're in your Discovery Ed portal, you can just type in SOS in that search bar and hit enter, and it will bring those up for you. There are two other ways. One other way is to select the green tile that says instructional strategies. When you select that, it will bring you to a window that has multiple different sorting, ways they have sorted the different instructional strategies. And then the third way is to click on that global navigation menu grid in the top right corner of your screen. So we are going to give you a moment to actually do that. So you have two choices. You can either just watch. Wanda is going to demonstrate it on the screen while I talk through it, and then you can open your tab and try it. Or if you're comfortable, go ahead and jump in your Wake ID portal, and as I'm talking, you can click through it. All right, so you open your Discovery Ed portal from your Wake ID, and then you'll see Wanda is clicking on the little search bar. So if you click there and type in SOS, and press enter, that will open up several different instructional strategies. And you can even see there's an instructional strategy channel that you can click on, and that's one option. So Wanda, if you would go back to the My DE homepage for me, please. Thank you. And then I think for me, the easiest way is just to click on that big green tile there on the right. If you select that tile with the life preserver on it, it's got a white life preserver. If you select that, I love how it sorts all of the instructional strategies by, I guess it would be by the way you would use it. So they're summarizing, citing evidence, questioning, research, sequencing, point of view. There's lots of different ways that they're sorted, and you can find what you need, click on it, and then open up those different ways. So if you were just watching, go ahead and we'll give you a moment to try and open up and find those instructional strategies before we move on.
Yeah, just let us know in the chat window when you are good in finding those. You've opened up your tab, you found those SOS, and you know how to locate those, because that's, part of what needs to happen. And there's your Discovery Ed in your portal.
All right, and if anybody needs more time, just drop in the chat. We'll give about 30 more seconds for everybody to at least navigate and just find that. You don't have to click around in there. We just want to make sure that you can open that because you will be exploring those later on.
All right, and if you're just joining us, let us know. Hey, I'm new. I just joined in, and everyone will drop you all the necessary links that you need as well, because I know we're all jumping in at different times.
All right, Wanda, I think we're ready.
All right. So now that you have a tab open, you are going to have some opportunities today to interact with these Spotlight on Strategies. But first, Annette and I would like to take you, we would like to take you through the 3 truths and 1 lie. So this is a great digital protocol. We have this digitally for you, and we're going to show you a folder of 11 digital spotlight SOS instructional strategies that are all ready to go for you. We created this one for a 9th grade world history. Do we have any high school teachers in here? If we have any high school teachers on this Lunch and Learn, make sure you share this out with your high school history teachers or even middle school. And what you can do in this is we pulled a podcast in regarding to this standard world history 7.3, where they have to talk about World War II. And so they would listen to that podcast. And as I click on here, it takes me into a Google slide template that we created. Now, I added the podcast as well, because as we know, as we work with students in an engaging way, we want to use all the space in the Google slide deck. So you can see that we're not putting it in present mode with the students, but we're using that extra white space. And so I've got the podcast linked. And what we did is they're going to write 4 statements that are, 3 are going to be true statements, and 1 is going to be a false statement. And so as you work in here, you can see that Annette and I, because I've got a class of 30 students, I color coded the background. So that way I'm going to say, like, Wanda and Sean, you're going to be on slides 2 and 3, you're purple. And then Tim and Daniel, you're going to be on slides 4 and 5, you're going to be blue. Those are your partners. So you can partner them up and you can change the background of the slides. You can duplicate the slides. This is already made for you, okay? And we're going to show you how to get to this. But this is a great way to interact and engage your students. So they can click on that podcast and they can listen to the podcast. And I always like to tell the kids like how long that podcast is. And then they would go in here and they would write a truth in here about what they listened to with Hitler and World War II and Germany. And then they would write another truth from the podcast, but then they would come up with a lie. And then you would drag your truths over. You would drop and drag and say, well, that statement is true and that statement is true, but this one is the lie. Now, if you're in elementary school, you can change the word lie to a fib. You don't have to use the word lie. You can change it to meet the needs of your students as well. So a little great drag and drop. An alternative to this is you could also use it in the chat room. You could say, okay, let's do 3 truths and a lie. A lot of people know about 3 truths and a lie as far as building community in the classroom in the beginning of the year. But this is an activity or a protocol that you can use. And these are research-based protocols as well. So we wanted to show you that one as far as engaging in the 3 truths and a lie, okay? Annette's going to talk to you about how you can incorporate it with Flipgrid.
Okay, so with the next example, we actually use the 3 truths and a lie in Flipgrid. This is the 7th grade and biology curriculum when it talks about cell membranes. So Wanda, if you will click on the Flipgrid picture, it'll take you out to our Flipgrid.
Mm-hmm.
And what you'll do here is we have attached a video that's from Discovery Ed. We downloaded the video and then we uploaded it into Flipgrid. And we asked the students to watch this video, and then what they're going to do is answer which one is the lie. So the teacher provided the different truths and lies, and the students have to pick which one is a lie. Wanda, will you refresh for a second? Because everything.
Absolutely.
And you can also use this to have students look at each other's answers and comment on each other's answers. So this builds a little bit more community in your classroom. They pick the lie, they have to tell why, and then they have to comment on 2 other students. So it's just another way to do the 2 truths and a lie if you don't want to use the Google slide deck.
Yeah, and I like the way as educators, and even if you're in a PLT or you want to use this in a staff meeting as a principal, you could put in some 3 truths and a lie about some policies in Wake County in the beginning of the year and use it that way as well. Lots of different ways to scramble it up. All right, going back into, we're flipping all over the place here. This is great. All right, another way to use the spotlight on strategies, these research-based activities and protocols to get students engaged is through a studio board, okay? And I've already opened that, and of course, everything is linked for you. But here is a studio board, and this is for first grade. So we've done a 9th grade example, we've done a middle school example, here's a first grade example. And it's the 3 truths. And so the students would watch the video, and this is actually a virtual field trip on a cow's diet. And so they would write down 1, 2, 3, 4 down the side of the paper. So let's say you're in the classroom and you're teaching students in the classroom. You also have blended students at home that are on the laptop. You can definitely show this to the whole class while your kids at home do this asynchronously without you and then come together at a certain time. But then when you're in the classroom with the students, they can write down things on the paper. You can play this video about how scientists work on the health of cows. And then you can put the statements down below, and then the kids have to figure out which is the truth and which is the lie. So lots of different activities, and using a studio board, it's all in one spot for the littles. And you can even use this on an asynchronous day when you need activities. All right. And the other thing we wanted to show you that Discovery Ed has done for us as educators is they've given us a how-to video for students. So say I wanted to use this with students and I wanted to explain to them, they have student-facing videos that are made just for students. So I'm going to fast forward this to 7 seconds, and I'm just going to play it for like 15 seconds.
Have you ever played the game 3 Truths, 1 Lie to see how well you know someone? The more you know about someone, the easier it is to figure out the lie, right? Well, the same goes with learning about a topic. Let's try playing 3 Truths, 1 Lie to see how well we understand a topic. Here are 3 truths and 1 lie about rhyme. Which is the lie? Do you know?
So as you can see, if you want to model to students how to play the 3 truths and 1 lie, they have at least 20 student-facing videos that go with the SOSs. Not all SOS instructional videos have this, but every day Discovery Education loads more. So you have this as a resource as a teacher to use as well. All right, so right now we're going to give you a choice. Okay, Annette, you want to take over that slide?
Yes. So we would like to give you a little bit of time to go out to DVE and navigate to the Spotlight on Strategies. And you have 2 choices. You can find a strategy. It doesn't have to be this 2 truths and a lie. Or you can go back to the slides 9 through 11, and you could choose an SOS to further explore, just looking a little bit more at what we've given you. Just want to give you some time to process. Wanda, could you show us where to find the student videos inside of Discovery Ed?
Absolutely. So if I go back here to SOS and I can type in the search bar SOS student videos. And as it processes, you're going to see here's A.E.I.O.U. for students, 6-word story for students, 25 things. Anything that is like a minute 40-ish is for students. And so that's all I had to do is just do SOS student video, and then it comes up.
Thank you, Wanda. So we're going to give you about 3 minutes. You can look at those student videos. You can look at another SOS strategy, just some time for you to look.
And if you have questions while you're exploring, please put them in the chat room or unmute yourself and ask. All right, we know that was quick. We've got 10 seconds left. Why don't you guys start typing your thoughts in the chat room? And that way we can learn from each other and share with each other, and then we can grow as educators. So go ahead and type in. Terry, oh, you found the I Spy strategy for teachers. Yes. Great video to use with teachers. And again, don't forget, this is across all areas of our educational career. We can use this in our PLTs. We can use this in staff meetings. You can use this with students. We are going to now move on to our specials with Barb.
Yes. So this strategy, 25 things you didn't know, can be used in any subject area, but I chose to develop this one specifically for music, and having been a music teacher for much of my career. The video here, this particular slide does the complete explanation for you, and it has the video that walks you through exactly how to do this. 25 things allows your students to collaborate together to come up with 5 topics that they did not know within that main topic, and then come back together and put things into a graphic organizer, which allows you to then see 25 new things. So if we go to the next slide.
Discovery Education presents.
Or we can play that video too. That's just there for your reference. So in this slide, what I've taken is the 3 facts that most people might know about an orchestra. And so if you take a moment to read those, of course, there's it's a group of musicians playing instruments together. Most of us know that one. The second one, an orchestra is directed by a conductor. The third one was even a new thing to me. The word karaoke comes from a Japanese phrase meaning empty orchestra. Not that I'm a karaoke singer, but I know some of us in this group are karaoke singers. I see some smiles, so that's great. So the way I've set this up is for the 4 families of the orchestra, and I included the conductor. Therefore, I have 5 groups of students, and within each group of those groups, I have developed a studio board. So if Wanda, you wouldn't mind going out to one of those studio boards. And so each studio board has to do with one of these 5 areas. This one happens to be about conductors. And I just chose some different articles that I thought were interesting, sort of included some different cultures, included some different interesting new inventions, such as the Bluetooth conductor's wand for those that are blind and can't see the conductor. I thought that was pretty fascinating. So your students would come in here, they would take about 20 minutes to go through this activity, to share, collaborate, talk about what was new to them that they'd never heard or known before. And then they would go back to either the graphic organizer, which I've linked off of slide 17, that you could certainly use, take, and change as you wish. You could also do it using Google Slides. Each group could take a Google slide and put their 5 things on different slides, and then put the whole slide deck together and make one great big overview of 25 things that we learned about the orchestra. So that's really the 25 things in a nutshell.
I really like how you jigsaw it. You can also jigsaw it out.
Absolutely.
And again, this is I mean, it's so hard for our specialists to engage students in the classroom and online and at the same time. And so using these studio boards and this jigsaw and the 25 things you didn't know is a great way to build capacity for specialists. And this could be done in all contents, couldn't it, Barb?
Absolutely. And I think one of the nice things about this too is that it really crosses multiple grade levels. So depending on the studio boards that you build, you can build it with content that's more appropriate to the elementary level, or you can build it with content that's appropriate to the high school level. So this was just kind of an example that sort of started at the elementary, but could be for an introduction to music, for example, at the high school level as well. So.
Right. So after seeing how Barb demonstrated this in music, how would you transfer this to your content area? Think about that. How could you transfer the 25 things to your own content area? Go ahead and put in the chat room to share with everyone. I know we've got some different teachers and different grade levels out there. Go ahead. How would you use this? Or how would you even use it in a staff meeting? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to put some ideas in the chat room for us. And then as those ideas are coming in the chat room, we are going to move on to Juliet. She's going to talk to us about math.
As soon as she unmutes. All right, so we are going to move along into another SOS strategy, incorporating it into middle school math. So middle school math uses a curriculum called OUR, Open Up Resources. And these slides, the slide that you see on this particular, on your screen, comes from either Learning Central or from the OUR site. They're free. And they include activities for use with students. It's very open-ended. They have a lot of collaborative work. They have some exploration. So in this particular one, I put the notes from the curriculum in the notes part of the slide deck that you have today. This is for the first unit in 6th grade, but there are gap resources in Learning Central that refer back to 5th grade curriculum. So in this one, the directions tell teachers to have the students break up into groups of 2 to 4. You could do this in breakout room. You could also do this as your icebreaker activity, similar to what Sadie started us with today. So in this, you give them a minute of quiet think time to think about which of these patterns do not belong. And Wanda, you can move on to the next slide. So the digital twist on this is going to be included in that whole collection of resources that are at the end of our presentation today. So you will have both of the things that I'm going to refer to next. So Wanda, can you go out of present mode on this? So again, using all the parts of Google Slides, in this 4 corners, if you want students to maybe have done this in a breakout and add the name of their group on one of these tile or on one of these little chips, or if they wanted to put their names, then they could drag it into one of the 4 corners. This can be very open-ended. It could be even that your 4 corners are something as simple as strongly agree, strongly disagree, sort of agree, sort of disagree. And then you can allow your students time to rethink. Do they really hold that thought still, and give them that opportunity to change corners at any time based on the evidence given by people in that particular corner. And they can, I've even seen it where some kind of fudge and are on the line because they are unsure. So this can be used in a lot of, it can be used social emotional, it can be used in a lot of content areas. So for this particular activity, we are going to use the next digital format. And that is going to be 4 corners using emojis. So you don't have to have your name in it. This keeps it very anonymous. And Wanda is going to click on either the link in the middle, or you can go to the bit.ly that's right there, and somebody will drop a link into the chat as well. And that's going to open our slide deck. And we should start to see people enter that in order to grab an emoji. And what we're going to do is give you about a minute. Let's wait till we see a few people enter the activity. I see them popping in. There we go. And what you're going to do is think about which of these, which one, kind of like Sesame Street, which one of these is not like the other, and move your emoji to one of the 4 corners. All right, and Sadie just popped the link into the chat. She said the bit.ly didn't seem to be working. She is not wrong. Okay. And what it was is there's a hyphen at the end of it that doesn't belong in the bit.ly. So, All right, so we have some people we have a lot of people moving on to D. And in the teacher guide, it actually talks about having students use the proper vocabulary like polygon and what aspects of it makes them think that D is one that doesn't belong. I'd love to see if somebody thinks something other than D is the one that doesn't belong, because again, this is very open-ended. There is no right or wrong answer. And who would like to unmute and substantiate your views on D being the reason, being the shape that doesn't belong, and see if anybody changes?
Be brave. There's got to be some brave soul out there.
Or A, whoever chose A, way to be brave, way to take a risk and think differently, think outside the box, so to speak. Would A like to unmute and give their reasons that they think A does not belong?
That was me. There's no yellow in it.
Oh, good. Oh.
Hey. Anybody shifting?
I chose D because it doesn't have a regular repeating pattern like the others do.
Okay. And this lesson is about tiling.
How about B, because it doesn't have any blue in it?
Okay.
Ooh, good one.
All right. So you can see that that might be a point where some of your A's may switch, your D's may switch. So this is an SOS strategy that can be found as well in Discovery Education. And within Discovery Education, there are videos that will help you get some ideas on the teacher end on how to use these SOS strategies. So Wanda, can you switch the view over to Discovery Ed for us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. So on slide 22, there are very simple steps that demonstrate this, but Wanda's going to do this in Discovery Education. 2 ways that you can find the SOS instructional strategies would be, again, the green tile, instructional strategies. When you click that tile and you scroll down, yeah, keep going. Keep going. Right here at the top, you've got your videos for students, which Wanda demonstrated. And as you scroll down, you're going to have the top SOS strategies. The one that you are interested in may not always be there. So another way that you can go and find the instructional strategy you are looking for is to actually go to the very top and type in. So Wanda, can you type in 4 corners in the search bar, please? And when she accesses that, there is 4 corners. It's our second choice, spotlight on strategies. It's white. So if, yeah, can you go to the full, yeah, video? And this video is going to be a teacher talking through how they used this instructional strategy within their classroom. The great thing about it is because you're one of those people who doesn't feel like watching a video, which is me a lot of the time, I can go and just read the transcript and I can get the highlights of what I need to know about this instructional strategy. And there you go, a real teacher having used it. And they will tell you the videos that they've used. Doesn't mean you have to use that one. You can use it in a variety of ways like we talked about.
And if you apply for their Den Summer Institute, you get to meet people like this. I actually met Dana Johnson, who lives out in California, and she is a 3rd grade teacher at the moment.
And that is 4 corners.
So definitely try out 4 corners. And again, you're going to have a whole folder of these digital resources. Now, one of the things we want to talk to you about is how do we integrate this pedagogy with Google Slides? Discovery Ed makes it easy to download the video, and then Google makes it easy to embed videos. So one of the things we've done is we've downloaded the video, and then we've uploaded it to our Google Drive. Once it's uploaded into your Google Drive in your particular folder, then you just go into insert and you go to video, and then it'll let you pick your Google Drive, and it'll let you pick like the last thing that you've done. You can do recent, you can do shared with me, shared drives. So they make it very easy to embed that right in for our students. And now you know that there are SOSs that you can add, these research-based strategies that you can add about these protocols, and you can add them right into your Google Slides. And then you can add the student-facing videos as well. And we also have modeled today on how to use the space within your slides. So this is an example that Sadie made and her partner Tatiana made for a presentation, and it's on types of rocks. So it'll ask you to make a copy, and you can go in there and you can look at a nice example of how to use Spotlight on strategies, how to embed the videos. And again, if you don't do this in a studio board within Discovery Ed, you can do it within Google Slides as well. Another great activity for asynchronous or synchronous learning. Do we have any questions so far? We're just going to pause here for any questions in the chat room. And they've dropped the link in on the types of rocks. It'll ask you to make a forced copy. Because what we want you to do right now, and I'm going to let Annette talk to you about the next Spotlight on strategy, A.E.I.O.U.
Okay, so the next strategy, A.E.I.O.U, is used with students when you want them to interpret a video or an image. And today, what we're going to ask you to do with this strategy is to kind of think about what you've learned today, think about Discovery Ed and what you've seen. And so in the chat, we'd like for you to drop either an adjective that would describe kind of what we're doing today or what you've seen. And we have an example there at the bottom. So engage might be the strategy that you drop. E, an emotion, something that somehow what it made you feel today. Something interesting for the I. Or the O is, oh, something that you learned. You're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Or I wonder, right? So that you could be, I wonder something. So if you will think for a second about an A.E.I.O.U, and if you will drop that in the chat for us about today's session and what you've learned. Accessible. Oh yes, very much so. Oh, informative. I like that. And yes, James, DE has so many resources. We've only touched on a few today. Intrigued about four corners. Love these. I'm glad you're happy, Diane. I'm having a happy, great day today, too. Anything else? Any other A.E.I.O.U? Resourceful? Yes, there's so many resources here. Thank you for participating in our chat. You can keep putting that into the chat, your A.E.I.O.U. But I do want to show you some other resources that we have for you. First of all, we are on slide, in case you want to get there, slide 24. So that folder we've been talking about that has all those wonderful digital strategies. Wanda, if you'll click on that link to that folder, you'll notice that those strategies are divided up into smaller folders. So like if you were to go into the 25 things you didn't know, you're going to see two things. You're going to see the digital content that we've created, that's been created for you. So the very first one is actually a Google drawing. And that's what you saw earlier with the music examples given by Barb. And then if you go back to the folder, Wanda, we actually have this strategy, the PDF that you can read through and look at. It has the phases of learning and which content the strategy covers, as well as the steps to how to use it with your students, the materials you might need. So it should have a lot of information for you to be able to implement this with your students. And Wanda, if you will go back to the presentation. The second thing we want to point out to you is that we do have a podcast in A.E.I.O.U. County. The digital learning coordinators create this podcast. And then Wanda, if you click on the word podcast, it's going to take you to a link that is a Discovery Education podcast that some of our DLCs created. It's on integration into online learning using Discovery Education. You can also subscribe to these podcasts. We put those out periodically, and you can listen to them on Spotify, or there's a few more places, Blogger, I think, where to listen. So if you want to subscribe to these, but that's a great podcast to listen to on Discovery Ed. And Wanda, if you'll go back to the presentation.
I pop them on when I'm in the car and I'm driving and I'm listening.
That's a good place to do it, because these are just podcasts. They're just for you to listen to. There's nothing to watch. And the last thing I want to point out is, if you have any questions about DE, please reach out to your digital learning coordinators. You can go to the DLC website to contact them or find out more about what we do.
And on the next slide, one of the things we wanted to point out, and Juliet has already pointed out, that there is a educator video that walks you through these research-based protocols. And as we saw in the 25 things that Barb modeled for us with the music teachers and Annette talked about, there is a PDF. And one of the things I want to point out is Discovery Ed did take the time to hire McCrell and say, listen, the top asset on our platform are these spotlight on strategies. These teachers use these digital protocols in their classroom with their students to engage them. And so today we wanted to give you an opportunity, a window into how can we use these engaging protocols online, and how do we get more activity out of our students. Even as you saw today, when Juliet asked for volunteers, we had to give appropriate wait time when we are online. And I've also seen a lot of teachers that still use the old popsicle sticks, where they write the kids' names on the popsicle sticks. And if nobody volunteers in the chat room, they actually pull a popsicle stick. Just like they did. I saw that in a 5th grade classroom, and I saw that in an 8th grade math classroom last week. So you can still use those tried and true strategies that work in the classroom. You can pull them over into your online instruction as well. If you are a beginning teacher, or if you're an admin or an IF, or you're doing a peer observation on someone, these SOS instructional strategies are great because it gives you the research behind it. And so when you're having your pre-conference or your post-conference, and the observer says, hey, I noticed that you did an A.E.I.O.U. or an SOS. Could you tell me about that? Here is your instructional strategy sheet that will help you facilitate that conversation with that observer. So I just wanted to point that out, that you can use it in that way as well. So if you are mentor coordinator or you're mentoring someone, here's a great idea to use with them on that. All right, some additional resources. We're going to let Juliet take that over.
All right. So the additional resources that you already received, you've got that whole folder now of digital versions of the SOS strategies. And like Barb mentioned earlier, if you already have some tools you're using, these are strategies that you can easily infuse to what you're already doing in your classroom. The first link, the Discovery Education Interactive Learning Courses, this is a really great place to go and just refresh your memory about Discovery Ed if it's been a while, or even like at the end of the summer. They tend to change things over the summer. I like to come back here as the school year starting out, and they send you a certificate after you finish, but you can see in the middle the digital integration with SOS. You can further your knowledge right here, get a little deeper into the content, maybe find out some new things that we didn't have time to tell you in just an hour. Next on the presentation slide is the SOS Instructional Strategies channel that you've seen us refer to over and over again. This has the student-facing videos. It has the various categories which different SOS strategies fit into. It has the teacher-facing videos, and it even has graphic organizers, as you can see. A lot of times when you're starting with something new, it's easiest to just hit on the most popular so that you're not looking through all the strategies at once, and just keep returning here, just setting a goal of trying one maybe for a week or two. The next link doesn't seem to be working on this slide. When it opens, it says that, at least it did a little while ago, that the content is not there. So we'll check on that and see what's going on with it.
They've moved it. We'll have to refresh that link.
Yeah. The last link on here is something I'd really like to make sure that you keep at the forefront of your mind. Discovery Education has their sponsors for a lot of different events. So this is one, Ignite My Future. And some of us went to this in the fall. Some of you may have gone, and some of our teachers did. It was an amazing way to spend an evening learning more about computational thinking, STEM processes, the design thinking process. And as part of it, we got subscriptions for a year free to Breakout EDU, Goose Chase, and Pear Deck. So it was really nice to receive those. And then Wanda and I got some swag because we were some of the Goose Chase winners. So you can always get swag at these Discovery Education events. Who doesn't need another water bottle, right? So make sure that even though it's filled up for tomorrow, right? No, tonight. It's filled up, but please make sure to bookmark this and check back because there will be spring dates. They just haven't released those yet.
Right. And Ken Shelton, if anyone knows Ken Shelton, he's the keynote speaker tonight, and he speaks from 5:30 to 6.
Yeah.
And the last keynote speaker was Honeycutt, Kevin Honeycutt, just excellent speakers.
They really are. So, I mean, they bring some great people into this free event where you get free stuff and learn. I mean, it's really a great situation. So we have one more Lunch and Learn coming up before the end of the year, next Wednesday, drawing students in with interactive posters and more. So please make sure that you either come and attend or go back and watch the recording if you are unable to attend the live version.